Picture this: vast sun-drenched plains stretching to the horizon, dotted with acacia trees and teeming with wildlife. This is the Masai Mara, one of the most famous and important wildlife conservation areas on Earth. But have you ever wondered about its story? How did this incredible landscape become the sanctuary we know today? Today, we're journeying back in time to uncover the rich history of Kenya's Masai Mara. The story of the Mara is inseparable from the people who gave it their name, the Masai. For centuries, this semi-nomadic pastoralist community has lived in harmony with the land and its wildlife. The name Mara itself comes from the Ma language, meaning spotted. It's a perfect description of the landscape, which is dotted with trees, shrubs, and the shadows of clouds moving across the vast plains. The Masai people didn't see the land as something to be owned, but as a shared resource, a grazing ground for their precious cattle, which are central to their culture and livelihood. Their traditional way of life, coexisting with predators and giant herbivores, created a unique balance in this ecosystem long before the concept of a national reserve even existed. They understood the rhythms of nature, the migration patterns, and the delicate dance between predator and prey. The formal chapter of the Masai Mara as a protected area began during the British colonial era. In 1948, a 520 square kilometer area was established as the Mara Game Reserve. This was part of a broader colonial-era conservation movement across Africa, which often involved creating protected areas for wildlife, sometimes at the expense of the local communities who had lived there for generations. The initial boundaries were quite small compared to what we know today. The main goal was to protect the wildlife from uncontrolled hunting and to create a space for safari tourism, which was already becoming a popular activity for wealthy Western visitors. However, this early version of the reserve didn't have the strict administrative control we see today. Local Maasai communities continued to live and graze their cattle within its boundaries, and management was a bit more fluid. A significant change came in 1961, the year the area was officially gazetted as a game reserve. Its administration was handed over to the Narok County Council, the local government authority. This was a crucial step. It meant that the management of this incredible natural resource was now in the hands of the local Kenyan government, rather than the departing colonial administration. The reserve was also expanded to cover a much larger area, around 1,800 square kilometers, encompassing more of the critical ecosystem. This expansion was a recognition of the sheer scale of the wildlife movements, especially the Great Migration. It became clear that to protect this phenomenal event, you needed to protect a much larger corridor of land. The 1970s marked a turning point for the Mara's management and structure. In 1974, a significant portion of the reserve, about 162 square kilometers, was returned to local communities. The remaining area, the 1,510 square kilometers that make up the core National Reserve today, was established. This was a complex period. On one hand, it was an attempt to address the land rights of the Masai people. On the other, it created a new challenge: how to manage the land surrounding the reserve. The solution that emerged was one of the most innovative and important conservation models in Africa: the creation of community conservancies. Instead of just fencing off the National Reserve, the Masai communities who owned the surrounding lands began to partner with conservation organizations and tourism operators. They agreed to set aside their land for wildlife, creating buffer zones and extending the safe habitat far beyond the official reserve boundaries. In return, they received direct financial benefits from tourism, such as lease fees for the land and employment opportunities at the safari lodges and camps built on their property. This model has been a game changer. It ensures that the economic benefits of conservation flow directly back to the people who bear the cost of living alongside wildlife. It gives them a direct stake in protecting the animals, turning potential human-wildlife conflict into a story of coexistence and mutual benefit. Today, these conservancies like Mara North, Olori Motaraji, and Naboisho are just as famous as the main reserve and often offer more exclusive and intimate safari experiences. Of course, the history of the Mara isn't without its challenges. The reserve has faced threats from poaching, habitat loss due to increasing human settlement and agriculture on its peripheries, and the pressures of tourism. Managing the delicate balance between generating revenue from tourism and preserving the wilderness is a constant struggle. Over the years, management strategies have had to evolve. There have been efforts to improve road infrastructure within the park to minimize off-road driving, which can damage the fragile grasslands. Anti-poaching patrols have become more sophisticated, using technology and intelligence to protect rhinos, elephants, and other vulnerable species. There's also a growing emphasis on sustainable tourism, encouraging lodges and camps to adopt eco-friendly practices, like using solar power and managing waste responsibly. And then there's the Great Migration. The Mara is, of course, the northern stage for one of the most spectacular natural events on Earth. Each year, from roughly July to October, over 1 million wildebeest, accompanied by hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles, pour into the Mara from the Serengeti in Tanzania in search of fresh grazing. This epic journey, culminating in the dramatic river crossings of the Mara River, is the lifeblood of the ecosystem. It shapes the landscape, provides food for a huge population of predators, and is the primary draw for tourists from around the globe. The history of the Mara is fundamentally linked to protecting this ancient migratory route. Every conservation decision, every boundary change, and every community partnership has been influenced by the need to ensure this incredible spectacle can continue for generations to come. So, when you look at the Masai Mara today, you're not just seeing a snapshot of African wildlife. You're seeing a living history. You're seeing the legacy of the Masai people's ancient connection to the land. You're seeing the evolution of modern conservation, from a simple colonial game reserve to a complex and dynamic partnership between government, communities, and private enterprise. It's a story of struggle, adaptation, and incredible success. It's a testament to the idea that people and wildlife can not only coexist but thrive together. The Masai Mara is more than just a place on a map. It's a powerful symbol of hope for the future of conservation in Africa and around the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the history of the Masai Mara. If you found this story fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures into the wild heart of our planet. See you next time.